Sailing high and slow here.
This is Bird's Eye View, your sailing podcast. Live, Sail, Die have put together what we hope is going to be the most informative and entertaining sailing podcast you have ever heard. I'm Darcy Waldegrave. I'm hosting and trying to keep these two roustabouts calmed down. Joey Ellen, Barbara Kendall, two of the biggest names in New Zealand sailing. We'll be broadcasting from the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron's Crow's Nest, one of the iconic rooms in New Zealand sailing. Lock yourself in. This is going to be fun. Bird's Eye View is sponsored by Andu, New Zealand's home of feel-good living. With free next-day delivery and price match guarantee, feel good about your appliances and furniture with Andu. Welcome on in to Bird's Eye View. My name's Darcy Waldegrave, and courtesy of Live, Sail, Die, this is our podcast. And when I say our podcast, not only the crew at Live, Sail, Die, but of course the irascible Joey Ellen. Always good to have you on here.
Great to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Barbara Kendall joining us as always. And today's special guest, a very special guest, Gillian Williams. Gillian, welcome into the podcast. Great to have you on board. This room up here, the Crow's Nest, I expect you'd be rather familiar with this place. You'd be back at home right now.
Thank you. Yes, spend lots of time up here.
Lots of time telling people what to do and how to do it?
Oh, not so much. Lots of time meeting and coming up with good plans.
Right, let's talk about who you are, where you're going, and where you're about to go. You are about to do something quite extraordinary in the sailing world, quite extraordinary for the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron. You'll become the first female Commodore in 153 years. Now, that's gobsmacking for a couple of reasons. A, you're the first, and B, a century and a half with the men running the show. This is more than well overdue. In all seriousness, this is the way the sport, this is the way the world is going right now. You must be very proud of what you're about to go ahead with a whole lot of big list of plans about what you need to achieve.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a lot of hard work, and it hasn't been easy, but it's fun as well. So I love sailing.
I'm going to butt in. I'm just registering that fact. It's astounding. To me, it's astounding that it's taken, I mean, New Zealand was the first place to give women the vote, but it's taken us 153 years to get a female Commodore. Why?
It's hard. So it's a lot of time, and most women have other responsibilities as well. So it wasn't an easy decision to go, yes, I'm going to do this. So as well as doing this, I have a job, and I'm a mother, and I run a house, and
You run a husband.
I run a husband as well. Yes.
Yeah.
You spend a bit of time out on the ocean as well, sailing,
Yeah,
obviously.
And I'm a sailor as well. So, it's another thing to fit in. But having said that, I love doing it. Like it's fun.
Problem, I suppose, comes right the way back to males grabbing control and not wanting to relinquish that control. And this is an issue that you had, not willing to accept the fact.
I'm going to say, do you think that's a problem, or it's a fact that we haven't had, like Gillian says, a lot of females, all the things, all the roles that we have running to dedicate your time to it's a voluntary role with all these other things going on in a leadership role. And they talk about women in leadership. And one of the reasons, is particularly if you're a mother running, I don't know, how many kids have you got?
Just one.
Just one. Even one, it's a lot. It's enough.
I know.
You're running kids, you're running a career, because most of our households are now 2-income families. You need 2 people contributing. Households, children, husbands, jobs, and then a volunteer role on top of that.
Women, though, are very good by design of multitasking. I think really it's resistance.
But then you add on a volunteer role of a prestigious yacht club on top of that, and all those roles. You must be Superwoman.
No, I'm not Superwoman.
I'm just putting some context here, because yes, it has been male dominated, but why is that for a start? One, it is because women have all these things going on, and then we don't tend to do things unless you're shoulder tapped into leadership roles.
So what's the resistance been? We'll start from the experience you've had once you decided you were heading along this path, and you've been quite up, I suppose, in the power game at the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron. So the resistance you've experienced so far, has it been as bad or as big as we're making it?
I think it's the subtle resistance rather than rather than avert resistance. There's a way that things have always been done, which is not the way that I necessarily do things, which is the whole thing about diversity, is getting people in who think and do things differently. So I don't think I've seen any real deliberate obstruction, but it's just oh my goodness, what's she gonna do? She's so different.
Things differently.
Woohoo! Yeah.
The fear of the difference, fear of change.
I think that is a male-generated situation. It's been like this for years, so why would we change? What's in it for us to actually make that change? But to step to one side and experience that, really important. I've noticed this in all sports. This is not just sailing, it's a standard. So you're a flag bearer in this space. Do you feel that responsibility? Does that weigh you down, Gillian?
There is. I feel it when girls and women come up to me and say, that's so cool. Because then I feel like, I've got to keep going, because there are people out there who get some inspiration from it.
It's a role model. You've become a role model.
It's aspirational.
Says the role model herself. but you know what I mean? Like, it's if I were to say, this is too hard and quit, what ripples would that have? I'm not doing that, but,
You've been very loud in saying nothing, Joey Allen. You're sitting there, arms crossed again, all defensively. He's contemplating something else. Do you see resistance in this space at all or not? I mean, you're part of the old school, aren't you?
All I see is, my wife is a very humble sailor, and she's an amazing girls' crew, and I just see how much fun they're having with their
Sailing.
and other national champions I might throw out there. And honestly, just the joy they get is just unbelievable, and you go for it.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the driving force, is that when women go sailing, they have so much fun. It's so awesome to see a bunch of women sailing, because it's just fun.
So what do you have to do in your position when you take that up in order to get that, well, I don't say acceptance, but get more people involved? And there are so many threads from a youth age, but from a female perspective, what are your marks? What do you have to hit?
Yeah, so in terms of what do, I chair the general committee when I become Commodore. I guess the key thing is to drive the change that sets us up for the future. So I guess getting more women out there, sticking with selecting women into positions of responsibility within the club, so that it doesn't get lost. I mean, I need to see that there's succession coming after I move on.
It's what a good leader always does.
You're absolutely predominant in this space. What would you like to see from a sailing point of view, from a sailing's mum point of view, from someone who's been there, done that? Where do you see the key marks here?
Well, I think Gillian's done an incredible job, first of all, sticking at it and doing it because it's fun, because you can create change and you can actually bring an established, it's like all the time that I spent in the International Olympic Committee. Come in with your guns blazing and you want to create change, but it takes a really long time to realise that it takes a long time to create change in an old established institution. So the IOC is even older than, well, it's probably similar to the Yacht Squadron in the fact that, you have this tradition. So it's actually bringing in change, but keeping the tradition, which is the roots of the organisation. So it's not just women, it's not just men, it's together. And I think that Gillian's probably right on par with that when I would say it's just, let's do this together for what is the future like, and let's bring us all together on that journey.
Absolutely. So the Squadron has had a couple of, I guess, false starts in the past where women have come on to the General Committee, stayed on the General Committee for a couple of years and then come off, and there's been nobody come behind them. So I think Debbie Whiting might have been the first woman to go on to the General Committee, but then nobody came in behind.
Is that lack of encouragement?
I think it's a combination of it's hard and tapping the people that that want to and have the
time.
But I don't have time.
No. Give a busy person a job and they usually get it done.
Exactly. Somebody who's crazy enough to just keep going. Yeah, a bit of persistence.
Give a lazy person a job and they find the quickest and most effective way to do it.
Give it to somebody else. They delegate. Leadership's you got to delegate.
Yeah.
You're taking over from Aaron Young. Your relationship with him as it's gone on, how's that worked for you? He's been quite an advocate, hasn't he?
No, so it was Aaron and then Andrew Aiken.
Excuse me, my bad.
But yes, I've worked with I guess in the time that I've been in, I've worked with Steve Meyer, Ian Cook, Aaron Young, and Andrew Aiken, and they're all different and they're all great. Aaron has been a great influence for me. I think he's a very impressive individual.
I think in his case, no, he is not Wahine. He's absolutely not. But when he started in that role, he was seen as quite young, even though he's not that young, but he was seen as quite young when he came in. I'm sure there was some resistance there as well in that space. Yeah,
I think he's one of the younger Commodores. I don't know the statistics on it. He's Maori also, which is diversity is not something that the Squadron's done terribly well. And yeah, incredibly supportive of me, and Aaron and I have worked together on a lot of the America's Cup issues in particular, which have been quite large in our tenure.
Experientially, America's Cup wise, what has to happen, do you think?
Don't ask me.
I am asking you. Say something, man.
No, I honestly, I'm a good listener right now. I'm just soaking it all in.
Gillian, I'd love to hear a little bit about, your pathway from sailing.
Yes.
So what got you into sailing, what you sailed, what led you into standing up, putting your hand up for the Squadron?
Yeah, okay.
So that's probably 3 areas, what got you into it, and then what you put your hand up. Why'd you put your hand up?
Okay. Yep. So I was a dinghy sailor, as you know. Barbara's signature is actually on my Learn to Sail certificates.
God, she must be old.
Hey, yay. So I'm old. So I came up through the dinghy classes, did an Olympic campaign, tried to get to the 92 Olympics, didn't make the team, but kind of came close, so that's kind of good enough. and then moved into a bit of keelboat sailing, Pied Piper, very cool little boat.
You were involved with Aaron Young in that class, weren't you?
Yeah. We're not involved.
Not involved, but
hey guys, keep this clean, seriously.
But we know that the Pied Piper class is the wild rebels.
Yes, yeah.
So it's a good introduction,
And interestingly, it was through Piedy sailing that I met my husband, who was a true blue Squadron person, had come up through the youth program, and it was him that encouraged me to join the club. So I joined the club, and then I got tapped on the shoulder actually with
There you go.
Yeah. Another lawyer friend of mine. He said, "Oh, we're trying to tick off a few things on the general committee. We need a lawyer, and we need some women, and we're pretty keen to keep sailors going too." So I kind of ticked 3 boxes in one.
That idea of being shoulder tapped, though, is there a reticence for women in this particular sport to actually stand there and put their hand and go, "Hold on, I got this"?
No.
It's not a reticence.
But this is right across all sports. So from a lot of the experiences that I've had working across many, many sports and in women's leadership, it's the shoulder tap. All of them will say, like the CEO right now of New Zealand football, she was shoulder tapped for the job. So shoulder tapping's a real key to getting this diversity piece working, shoulder tapping for coaching, shoulder tapping for Commodores, shoulder tapping for come sailing.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the diversity challenge is that people tend to shoulder tap somebody who looks like them or acts like them. So to shoulder tap somebody who's different is the challenge.
So the import of actually having women involved in sailing at every level, from the grassroots right the way through to a situation, be it you're involved with, was it Oracle from a legal point of view? All different aspects. It's not just necessarily on the water. There's a number of different paths. So why women?
So I don't see.
Well, why is it important to bring women into the sport at all levels?
I think it's a sport for everyone. It's a sport that women enjoy, and if you're going to get more women doing it, enjoying it, you've got to have other women around them, so they go, oh yeah, this is a place for me.
And it's pretty hard, when, I think about when I went on my first, I'm sorry, I'm cutting in a little bit,
No.
woman thing. When I went to my first youth worlds, I was the only female on the team, full stop. There was no manager, no other manager, no other coach. I mean, Harold was our manager, fantastic. But the rest of the team were guys. And so you were solo. And, when we look about belonging, you look at belonging of being a sense of a team and their whole there was no other female to hang out with. I was by myself. And pretty much when I did the World Cup, everything, running solo. And so when we talk about this, diversity, it's you having other women in and around you that's supporting you coming through and as a lone wolf is really important.
So what do you think about that, Joe? What do you think we need women involved in sailing from a very masculine point of view?
I think they are involved. In my little circle, which is a very precious circle, we have two amazing women, Leslie Ignott and Emma Sanderson.
Oh, they're both brilliant.
And honestly, we got to get these girls in here. They are unbelievable. Their stories are just incredible. You get Leslie talking about going head to head with Dennis Conner.
Yeah.
These stories, we've got to get the spades out. We have to.
Yeah, and I think that the challenge with somebody like Leslie, who I completely agree is phenomenal, is getting the next person coming in behind her.
But they will follow.
Yeah, and the Women's America's Cup is going to be amazing this year, and it's hugely inspirational. It's been a long time since Leslie sailed in the America's Cup.
Yeah.
And we need the steps behind.
Can I just say, in San Diego, there was an hour where we thought we were going to race Leslie in the America's Cup. There was 1 hour. It may not have even been that long. And I have to say, we didn't want to race Leslie.
Yeah.
We did not want to.
She's fierce.
We didn't want to race them. We wanted to race Dennis.
Yeah.
And I can feel the relief when that shitty wind shift dealt the Les, But if you want to be humbled, you spend some time with Emma.
Yeah, she's an
like
amazing individual, isn't she?
She sits here at the table with her husband, who's the World Sailor of the Year. She sailed around the world on her own.
I know.
Moose had, 10, 11 solid good men around him. I'd say the dinner table would be a bit weird at times in that household.
Do they have kids?
Yeah, and they're
Very,
on fire.
very
The kids
good.
are on fire, but mum's in the background. I mean, these two, these women.
Back to this amazing woman.
Yeah, sorry.
And her journey into becoming the Commodore of the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron. What is your vision?
I would like to see the squadron develop into a much more diverse group of people and a lot of vibrancy. People calling this their second home. A place where people come, they have fun, they connect, they enjoy. I was at the club watching the rugby the other day, and I saw one of the members, and she's sort of late 50s. She does run racing. She's down here all the time. This is her social group, and it's like, that's really cool. that's people loving yachting.
What a sense of belonging. It's how do you create an atmosphere where people feel they belong?
Yeah, and that's what clubs need to be relevant.
The diversity is interesting because, let's face it, sailing is seen as a rich white man's sport. So diversity, not only when it comes to gender, when it comes to the equality of the racials, that is an interesting space for you to be in, huh?
Yeah, and I think that we can be a lot more open and encompassing of Auckland and who is Auckland.
Auckland covers so many different nationalities. That's a huge part of that.
Absolutely. We've just formed a relationship with the New Zealand Chinese Yacht Club, which I think has some really huge potential for Aucklanders.
I was just thinking, on a day like today, that we could actually, Squadron, to make it more, vibrant, we could actually put a little floating ramp just off the break wall there that you could actually launch your wings from and have an awesome winging demonstration-y type event,
There you go.
It's just
Your wings, you're never going to stop, are you?
You don't need all the infrastructure. You don't need
diversity of thought.
You don't need infrastructure like marina berths, and all you need is a launching pad, because you can just lift and launch, and then you could create this amazing.
Trouble is,
about youth and
all of my mates would get sluiced down the harbour and they'd come back on the Waiheke ferry.
Well, on it isn't smeared over the bow, but kind of on it.
no, but there's you'd have to anyway. I mean, how cool would that be for? Are we looking for diversity or looking for vibrancy?
Yeah,
because the other day we were just there was 40 wings out, just casually winging around.
Yeah.
So if you create, I'm not saying that you should do that, but it's great that you're looking at ways to make.
I know
vibrancies.
Winging's definitely on the agenda.
The radar, it's easy. Yeah. Well, apart from just a slight launching issue.
Yeah,
but you can fix that.
I'd say in all sport at a grassroots level here in New Zealand, the biggest issue is funding. The money, the lack thereof, more the important of. What kind of method are you using to encourage more investment? It does have to come through government, and we'll look further to the America's Cup and what has to happen in order to get it back here. Once it's being defended, that's another story. But how are you in that space? Because I expect that's very, very difficult. And the current situation, no one's got any money.
Yeah, it's a real challenge. It's a challenge on lots of different levels. So we get some funding for a lot of our youth activities from the charitable trusts, which get their money from gambling, which is down. We get sponsorship money from corporates, which corporates are suffering, so that's down. We raise money by using our yacht club as a kind of a function venue, but people aren't spending, so that's down. So there's a lot that's down. So we just need to get more creative, work out how we can create value for people.
And there's a want to do that. Everyone's on board with this about generating more income for everybody.
Yeah, I think so. I'd say the more we can raise, the more we can do, and doing lots heightens engagement. It becomes a bit of a rolling stone,
Well, the government interested in helping out on this? Because let's face it, I've said this a few times, we'll talk about rugby being a national sport. When it comes to the different classes and the global reach, sailing's kind of a national sport, really, isn't it? Do you think there'd be more engagement?
Yeah, it's I don't know, Barbara might have more on this, but
the government's got no money in sport. Right now they're actually that's a tight one as well. So particularly, you've got two avenues, two stream avenues. One is high performance sport, which is competing at world champs, and America's Cup may come under that, maybe not. And then you've got participation in sport that creates healthy lifestyles, and what we are about in New Zealand. So there's different, and as far as a club goes, you're hooking into the different revenue streams from that, but the government won't come and say, here's,
Bigger picture-wise, though, when it comes to a defence of America's Cup here, the reason it's disappeared is because there was no central funding. That has to be engaged in, because I suppose the feel-good nature, what it does for this country, is enormous. So what kind of pressure do you, or will you, when you're the Commodore, start putting on people at that high level, council and government, to go, actually, this is bigger picture stuff? Is that the way you're running or not?
So the Americas, I mean, there's an America's Cup team, Team New Zealand.
Yeah.
So they run the America's Cup. We are a yacht club. So we're about grassroots Corinthian yachting. That's what we do. They have full-time people doing this stuff. So we need to leave it to them to do that stuff. And they are our team and we support them wholeheartedly, but
They're not a driver of that. So
no.
The America's Cup New Zealand, New
Yes.
Zealand team, they're the driver of that, and there's a club. You're just a supplier of supplies, a supplier, really, or a stakeholder, but not a driver.
So providing an irritant, there's no point in doing that. Just on the back, nudging people going, we need some help. That's not part of your remit.
Maybe as a collective, as a collective and as an instrumental yacht club, and drive and say, hey, look, we're really keen to help in any way we can. What do you need us to do?
Yes.
To support you.
Yes, and certainly in this current cycle of the America's Cup, which is going to Barcelona, we've very much taken on the role of being the cheerleaders for Team New Zealand. So we're all about creating a fan base, creating the support, doing what we can to
Host
and broaden the reach. So like one of the things we're planning at the moment is a tour of the country with the America's Cup for the America's Cup. So the team are busy trying to be super fast and be good enough to win, but taking the America's Cup around the country, that's something that we can help with. So that's what we do. And we're all about being the cheerleaders.
the team behind the team.
Quite instrumental, though, in profile of the sport, which is...
Yeah, and actually that's another, I guess, key thread in what we are trying to achieve is a bit more cohesion within the sport, and being a bit more open to other clubs and being closer.
So being a Team New Zealand type, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have like a in Barcelona? Is there? I'm sorry, I'm not quite up to see, but is there like a house or a place where New Zealanders that are all going over to Barcelona can congregate? Have you got a partnership with a sister club? Whatever they call it.
So we've got
up to the lingo.
Yes, we've got two things going on. So we've got the Yacht Club over there. So the Real Club Norte de Barcelona. That's a sister club of ours. So members can show their card and get in there and be part of that club. But we've also done a deal with a bar on the waterfront for like a Kiwi bar in Barcelona.
Awesome.
So that all New Zealand supporters can find each other, go and talk about...
What beer will they be serving?
I imagine it'll be Estrella.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
It's really interesting. It's so important, that when we look at fans, clubs that are out there is having this fan base of where you can actually go and support.
It's massive. It's massive.
And with the Olympics this year in Paris, for instance, the New Zealand Olympic Committee has a New Zealand house. So all the sponsors, all the friends and family, they have events there, and it's like a hub.
Yeah.
And then the medalists come there afterwards, and you get to shoulder with the medalists within this hub. And last time in Tokyo, for instance, they had done the cloud. We know that this is so important, and same with the Americas.
I think New Zealand does well going offshore. I think it's a comfortable place for New Zealand sports people.
One thing I remember from Valencia was in the Louis Vuitton final against Prada, and the day one there's 70% Italian flags and 30% Kiwi flags, and there were more and more Kiwi flags flying, and it sends out a really strong message to the athlete who's being towed down that harbour, to go out yachting. And man, it was powerful at the end.
Yeah, and I think what happened in Valencia, because I was there too, was that as the event grew momentum, all the Kiwis in London found found their Ryanair flight.
That's
down there.
I hope that happens. I really hope
Oh my
seeing
God.
that happen in Barcelona.
I have such vivid memories of towing down there and seeing those flags. You know, they were just that beautiful. Never change that flag.
In my small, tiny experience that I have, because we never had the crowds like what the America's Cup have, but when I raced in Barcelona, and it was off that break wall where you were able, all the spectators were. And after I'd won the gold medal and I looked over and just this wall of Kiwi flags, and because you don't have that,
You never
say
forget that.
No, you don't. And then when I came ashore, and there was just this wall of Kiwis and the stands, or a lot of the friends and families that were in Barcelona at the time had come down to some medal ceremony and stuff like that. It was really like never had that at that level compared to that particular time.
Gillian, let's wind the clock back a wee bit, because we've gone superstar and we're going to pull it right back to the grassroots, which essentially is the most important thing. You've got a Women's Day Out coming up in August. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so we did that for the first time last year, and it was such an amazing event. So the idea is that women can sign up as an individual or as a team, whatever they like, and member boats are used, and we go out and we do a couple of yacht races. The format of the event is intended to be everything's taken care of. So coming back to that thing about women are busy, So you go for the day, you get your breakfast, you get your lunch, you get your dinner, you get your boat, you just turn up and it's all taken care of. And then you go out on a yacht. We do a couple of yacht races. We did it on my boat, Mr. Kite. We had a bunch of women, mostly my mates, but we took a couple of other people who just signed up as individuals as well, and we laughed and laughed and laughed all day. It was just fabulous. And
I'm really inexperienced. I'm an inexperienced woman. Just imagine that. And I've had zero experience, but I've seen it on TV. I've been driving around Auckland having a look out. I want to have a go at that. Zero experience required. You can't get anybody?
Zero experience. And shoulder to shoulder with people that do have experience. So, we had Karen McMaster sails with me. And she's
There's another legend right there.
what a legend.
My
She's
God.
sailed around the world, and she brought her two daughters out.
Oh, my God.
And we just, I've got this amazing photo of her with her two daughters. And it's like, awesome. That's cool.
And these women are going to do it for pure enjoyment, and they're not going to end up challenging someone like Joey Allen, but the ones that are coming through. What's it like when you get beaten by a girl? How's that testosterone for you?
I'm very used to it, because when I was young, and I've got a younger sister and a younger brother, and Dad would take us out in the yacht, and I was the seasick one, and my younger brother was at the top of the mast vomiting on us, and my sister was steering, and she has and is always been a better yachty than I've ever been. She can steer for hours and she can trim for hours, and I'm very used to getting beaten by girls. I don't enjoy it, but I'm used to it.
I was just examining something on the floor while he's managed to rescue himself out of that very tricky situation. Gillian, would you like to leave with any particular message for people out there watching this? And this is not gender specific, by the way, right across the board, us boys too.
Yeah, I think get involved and encourage other people to get involved, because yachting's fun, and it's more fun if more people are involved.
Extraordinarily simple.
Yeah.
Got anything to add to that?
Same. That was well said. Really well said.
We need more girls under the umbrella.
Yeah, we do, and really big ups. Impressive. I was just like blown away. Awesome. Keep it up. I'm gonna be on your right hand. Just give me a call. 0800 Barbara.
I've got the signatures. She got me started.
And more women holding the umbrella as well. I'd suggest not necessarily being under it. Thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward to your tenure as the Commodore, first woman, Gillian, in 153 years, to be pulling the strings, pulling the ropes, as epic for everybody concerned. Not, as I said, just gender specific. but for people, full stop. I think you're a fantastic job. Thank you so much for joining us here at Live, Sail, Die's podcast. This is Bird's Eye View. I'm Darcy Waldegrave, coming to you from the Crow's Nest, the hallowed Crow's Nest. I'd like to thank everyone involved with this podcast, particularly Live, Sail, Die and the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron, who allow us to come up here, as I've always said, and pollute the atmosphere with our sailing talk. Gillian, thanks very much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you.